Good evening and welcome inside the Scores Table. Brian Haenchen and Danny Riego here with you. It's the first of three shows for the week. Getting you ready for the Class 2A and A state championship games coming up on Saturday. Guests for the first half of the show are going to be joined by AJ Mallad, Ava Wheeler of Borden, Grace Scharlach and Chloe Verdin of Fremont. And then from 2A, we're going to have Taylor Drury and Avery Smith of Eastern Pekin. And from Oak Hill, Kerri, Barcomb, and Brianna Dailey. In between there, Orleans coach Jared Gilbert's going to help us break down Borden. Katie Collignon from Marquette Catholic will be with us on Fremont. Alexandria coach Mickey Hosier on Oak Hill. And then we're hoping to have Steve Muir from North Knox to help us talk about Eastern Pekin, but Steve had a conflict of interest. Danny, last week it was teams traveling 12 hours, whatever it was, 4 hours to get to their semi-state gyms for practice. This week it's teams being honored for their accomplishments during the regular season that's causing the scheduling conflicts. But I think we're going to battle through it, and I think we're going to pull it off.
Okay. I trust you. You block these shows. I'm excited for you. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
That sounded so enthusiastic. You sound like I feel dead inside. I mean, I'm pumped, but I'm still fighting off a cold. So it's been rough sailing on this side of the city.
No, okay. So I will. Okay, I'll give a little bit more. Okay, the A and the 2A games is not like we have a couple of really good matchups, and they're good matchups for different reasons. And so, look, Fremont and Borden. Let's just throw it out there right at the beginning. Okay, these are two of the four best teams in Class A according to the computers, according to the polls, according to the records, according to the talent, according to the backcourts, according to the coaches. Like that one has everything. And so the right out of the gates in Class A, you get to see a top four matchup the same way that you would in 4A to punctuate the evening. So it's a great way to start the night. In 2A, you get to see who wears the glass slipper. I mean, just for lack of a better description, Eastern Pekin is not anybody's first pick to be there the way that Fremont and Borden may have been. And Oak Hill is also not the first pick that anybody would have had out of the north the way that Fremont and Borden would have been. So they give you two great matchups in the morning that I just want to generate as much interest as we can in these games because I want you to go to them.
I genuinely think this is the most excited I've been for like a 4-game slate because they're all more or less toss-ups. Even this first one where you have the defending state champs going against Fremont. And Fremont, we talked about this before the show, but I mean, Fremont threw in an entirely new defense for Marquette Catholic and caught them off guard, knocked them on their heels, and pulled the upset that kind of sparked the chaos of the day of regional Saturday. So you have that to consider on the one side. Oak Hill Eastern, like we said, those are two teams that nobody necessarily expected to be here. Oak Hill, you've referred to their size a lot. And then on the Eastern side of things, they've navigated a lot of injuries this year. And they kind of feel like a group maybe that's kind of peaking now that they're healthy. They finally have everybody back together. Maybe peaking here at the right time. And then just glancing ahead to tomorrow's show, Roncalli Belmont is going to be nuts. Roncalli first time there ever, and Belmont first time in a long time. And then Center Grove Norwell, I think the one that I realized as the tournament won is the one that I really wanted to see just because they're so good defensively, so good at what they do, but they do it in two such starkly different ways. So it's going to be a really fun couple days of basketball as well. Real quickly, IndyStar.com, 50 players to watch up there today. Tomorrow will be how they got here stories on Roncalli and Center Grove. Those are kind of like some in-depth previews. I get into the weeds on the Center Grove defense and then Roncalli and that offensive change that our friend Keith Hollins recommended to Jason Sims at the Marion County tournament. Jason was on with us last week, talked a little bit about that. So got into that from both the coaches and the players' perspectives. And then the day, also tomorrow, there's the luncheon for the teams, I think. But then otherwise on IndyStar, I think we'll have a feature story of some sort on Thursday. And then Friday is game capsules predictions. And Saturday is the big shebang. We'll have coverage of all 4 games. And, yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Fremont, Borden, Eastern, and Oak Hill. Am I wrong in assuming that none of those 4 schools are private schools?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, we're going to have Katie Collignon on, and she said it twice in the show in as many years en route to, her postseason relevance, we'll call it. And she said, we're small, but we're mighty with our followings. Fremont, Borden, and Eastern and Oak Hill, those 4 schools, because they are community schools and because there is multiple geography that feeds into them, I think the following for the 10 a.m. and noon tips is going to be good. I think the building is going to show off. I think it's going to be 4 quadrants with 4 different colors. I think it's going to be, and I'm big on the environments. Listen, I don't know if we should play the games at Gainbridge. I understand that it's special. I think that sometimes it just can look a little vast and empty in there. But I don't think so this time. I think these 4 communities are going to show out and they're going to support their teams. And I think that's going to be a big win for the IHSA and a big win for us.
Yeah, that will be. And too, I mean, Eastern and Borden, I think, are separated by like 4 miles, something like that. Like they're really close together. Eastern and Borden are. So I figure there's going to be some overlap there between their 2 communities. It's always fun to see. We've seen that in years past, where their schools, those county schools, all come together and support each other. That's something we talked about last week. Which coach did we talk about that with? I'm drawing a blank here, but yeah, we talked about that just up in that Belmont area or the South Bend area around there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's cool to see. This is the time of year when all the communities rally around each other and come together, which is always really fun to see, to your point. And it makes for a really fun environment, a really fun atmosphere at those games. Of the 4, what are you most excited for?
I am most excited for the defensive game planning of Shea Thomas at Fremont and the defensive game planning of Matt Vick and Borden. And you had already referenced, and so I guess I don't need to save any thunder here. Their unique game plan for Marquette Catholic with that flat 3-2 when they came out there and kind of introduced that defense to their team and introduced that defense to Katie Collignon and Marquette Catholic. That is something that the kids can rally around. It was new. That's probably one of the reasons why they're engaged and one of the reasons why they were moving on. And I actually celebrated that. I thought the preparation of Shea Thomas was really good going into that game. The same can be said with what I have historically recapped when talking about Borden, with the 1-3-1 in the state championship last year and that surprise and all of the different things that Matt Vick can do with that kind of athleticism. I don't think that anybody has, regardless of the amount of film that they have watched, can sit here and say with confidence that they know what Shea Thomas is going to run against Borden and know what Matt Vick is going to run against Fremont. And I, for one, cannot wait, because I always kind of go with, like, for me, I always love watching the coaches. I think everybody knows that I talk about the coaches more on here than I even talk about the players. I can't wait to see what these coaches have come up with for each other.
That's going to be great to see. Danny, with that, we're going to go ahead and bring on our first guest of the night, AJ Mallad, Ava Wheeler of Borden. Borden, again, getting ready to take on Fremont in that Class A state championship game. What's up, guys?
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. How's state week treating you guys?
Pretty good so far. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. It's been a couple days, AJ. Anything new with you? It hasn't even been 24 hours, I guess.
No, not really. Just had practice. That's about it.
Ava, how are you? How is the knee feeling? How's it feel to be back out there playing again?
Yeah, I'm good. The knee's fine. Not feeling rusty at all, actually. It feels pretty normal, so it's going good.
That's good. Coach mentioned last week that your role, I guess, has kind of changed a little bit, and you've been doing some different things, I guess, just more of like assisting. Just talk us through what that's looked like on your side.
Yeah, I feel like the last few seasons, my role has probably been scoring, like me being a post and getting the ball in the paint and using it that way, but I feel like now I'm more of like an outside perimeter player. Like I'm not driving as much. Like I don't have a, like, I guess as quick first step. So like I can't get around people as fast. So I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of like what Riley has been doing, like facilitating. Like I try to pass as much as I can, find the next person, kind of like that.
I'll let you brag, Ava, just on your teammates and how they've stepped up, and everybody, it seems like has really grown this year in your absence.
Yeah. Riley's had a great season. She's been really, really, really good for us offensively. She's had like 20-point games, multiple in a row. So I think she's player of the week this week, maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. AJ's been stepping up with her shooting, which is always good, but it's been really nice in postseason. Emma's doing great in the paint. Sailor's been stepping up a lot with extra minutes, especially whenever I was hurt. She was in a lot more, and I think she did a pretty good job. And McKenna's same thing as McKenna. She's really good, our favorite cherry picker. So, yeah, I think they've all stepped up a lot.
Did you say McKenna's your favorite cherry picker?
Yeah, that's what she does best.
When we had Matt Vick on, we were talked about, your recovery, Ava. We also talked about the ascension of Riley Rarick. And I kind of, in watching Borden on film, I've been really impressed with Emma Hart. I just want to center in on her particularly. What do you guys think it is that's happened throughout the season or the last season, and I'll let both of you comment on it, that's made her such a different piece for you this year? I think that kid's really good, and I think she's completely changed you this year.
Yeah, I feel like Emma's a really big part of our team. She's just always in there getting like the rebounds. Like she's our main rebounder. She for some reason like the ball always like falls where she is at. And she catches like every pass. I could throw a lob in there and somehow she'd still manage to catch it, even if it was like 10 feet above her head. And she also just like she looks to pass too. She doesn't just take it down every time. Like if she sees 2 people on her or 3 people on her and she knows she can't get it, she'll look for the extra pass. I think that helps us a lot with extra shots outside because whenever we pass it down to her, people are forced to like break down on her and actually have to guard her. So then we're open on the perimeter for the shooters to hit the shots.
Yeah, I'd say she stepped up a lot. Like, not even just with me being out. Like, since I've been back, I feel like she's still getting all the rebounds, scoring offensively in the paint, like, just being aggressive. And we definitely need that because we don't have a bunch of size. It's like me, Riley, and Emma. And Riley's always our point guard. So it's just me and Emma down low. And I feel like against teams like we just played, like, when there are bigger girls, like, that's what we need. And I feel like she's just the right person for the job.
And I feel like with Emma also, most bigs don't really run the floor like how Emma does. Like mostly whenever you see like post players, they get the rebound, they pass it to a guard, and they like are the last ones back. Emma's always one of the first ones back. She runs the floor very effortlessly because she knows that she can get those extra points, whereas like her defender might still be at half court.
Yeah. Another kid that runs the floor really well is Riley Rarick. The kid seems to glide. Obviously, she's a track athlete, then a high jumper and all of that. Look, I don't want to talk about Riley Rarick under the context that like this is new. We talked about how she's gotten better and we calling it the ascension of Riley Rarick really, but she had a game high 18 in the state championship last year. Like she's been that kid for a year for you, but it just looks different to me. Okay, like Ava, you go first. Like what are you guys seeing every day with her? It just seems like she's getting so much better.
Yeah, I'd say she put a lot of work in over the summer, like with AAU and like just everything. Like she's always at the gym. Like her mom has a key, she's a coach, so she's always at Borden just getting up extra shots, whether it's just her or her brother. So she's definitely been putting in the extra work. And I wouldn't say that it was because she knew she had to step up because I was out. I think she just like it's her last season. So like why not just leave it all out there? And I think it's definitely shown to everybody. And I feel like she's getting a lot of recognition that she deserves.
Yeah, I feel like she's got a lot more recognition this year. I feel like she's like coming out of her box like a little bit. Like I feel like last year she wasn't as confident, and then like towards the postseason, like she actually did start shooting the ball more, which obviously we'd have loved to do her sooner. But I feel like then she like kind of like came out of her box, and I realized that she could do those things. Whereas like her sophomore and freshman year, she did do those things, but for some reason I think she like lost her confidence. And then after like last year during state, she gained it all back, and she's such a much like not like she wasn't good then, but she's like more of like a threat, and she's like helps us all out a lot more.
I'm gonna start asking questions more geared toward like Borden as a team in the state championship. And what I mean by that is like you guys last year, I don't know if you were underdogs or favorites against Lafayette Central Catholic, but it was your first time there. What's different this year? What's different about being the defending state champs, having been there last year, understanding what this process is all about? How have you kind of turned that into an advantage for your team?
I feel like last year being our first year, like we had no idea like really what it was like, and we couldn't really look to anybody because obviously we had never made out a regional, so we didn't know like what the crowd was like, what the pressure was like. But I feel like after state, like the first half, we obviously were like, you could see we were all playing really nervous. We didn't really know like what to do. And then we were down like 13 or 14 or whatever it was. And then we came back. I feel like this year we're really prepared for that. And I feel like it hasn't really got to us. Like the moment hasn't gotten too big for us this year. I feel like every time the moment does get big, we kind of like make it smaller than what it is. And we accelerate more than like go down.
Yeah, kind of just going off of what she says, like, we know what's going to happen. Like, we know how it is. Last year was our first year playing at Gamebridge, which was kind of crazy because that's, like, the most people we've ever played in front of ever. But we know what to expect this year, and I think we're ready for it. And we know that it's our last game regardless, win or lose. So definitely don't want to lose. But, yeah, we're really excited.
AJ, you both kind of referenced this, but just like the moment not being too big. Last week at semi-state and that Evansville Christian game, you kind of mentioned just a little bit of tightness, a little bit of nerves. How did you guys overcome that, get through that, and kind of reset?
I feel like at halftime our coach said that we weren't really playing together, and I feel like at that point, like we kind of like were like, oh crap, maybe we're not playing together, and so we came out and we adjusted a little bit, and I think we started passing the ball more and making all the extra passes, and I think that helped us because then we hit down like the wide open shots, and everyone got our confidence up, and we wanted to talk more on defense, and I think that really helps us a lot.
Yeah, Coach Vick's halftime chats usually get us going. So he definitely ripped us a little bit and just told us to play like a team. Not even just him, but like Coach Rarick and Coach Schlischer, they all told us just we needed to play together. And so whenever we came out, we talked about that before we stepped on the court. And kind of like what AJ said, we moved the ball more, and I think we made each other a lot more open.
Before we get into Fremont, I have a question, and it's like if it's now that you get to be here twice, would you do anything different? And or what I mean by that is like when you won the state championship last year, I'm sure there were moments where you're just like, I wish I had done this, or I if we make it back, I'm going to do this differently. Is there anything tangible now that you are experienced that you can share with us that you're like, I'm going to enjoy this more, I'm going to watch this more, I'm going to do this more? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I think like during warm-ups, like I didn't really like want to look around me. I just wanted to concentrate on like making my shots and like getting used to like the lights and like the crowd and everything. And I feel like that's what kind of made me a little bit nervous before was I didn't actually like take the moment in other than like I was trying to like avoid it and like push it to the side and think that it wasn't gonna bother me during the game. And so when I did come out during the game, like my head wasn't where it was like supposed to be. It was just like, oh, I was making him during this, like it was like this, but then now it's like everyone's yelling, there's all the cameras on me and all of that. So I think that and not being as just like tight. And by that I mean like they came out and they pressed us and we had like no idea what to do because usually like teams don't really press us because they can't. Like we have 5 people who can run with the ball, we have 5 people who can dribble the ball. So I think we just need to be a little bit more prepared of like how teams can have different plans than what we don't think they're gonna do.
Okay,
Tell
that's
us,
it.
yeah. Tell us about Fremont. Tell us what the week has been like in regards to your opponent.
We're just we don't really know what defense they're gonna play. They play a 1-2-2 where the top guard kind of drops a little bit, and then sometimes they play man. But I think we're preparing for their 1-2-2 mainly. We're doing some shooting drills, some post feeds, like all of that above. We obviously have the size advantage with their tallest person being like 5'7", 5'8", and our tallest being almost 6'1". So, I think it helps. Like that'll help us a lot. We're just concentrating on like rebounding and post feeds mainly.
What is this career? What has this run been like with Vic? He talks a lot about how you guys have grown up. How has Vic grown up? What has it been like with him over the 4 seasons?
Yeah, it's been good. We love Coach Vic. He's great, but I don't even know how to describe
Like
him,
he's just
honestly.
had to get used to us because he's such like a serious like get in, get the work done, and us five are all like laugh, like have fun while we do it. Like
Yeah.
we don't take anything, but like how he sees it is like not being ready to play, like all this stuff. How we see it is like we're getting ready to play. We're like making sure our nerves don't kick in. Like we're just having fun, and I feel like we always play better whenever we're having fun.
Yeah. What's something about this week, about state week, that's like surprisingly enjoyable? Like, is there something that you guys found that like, wow, this is really fun? Is it the hotel stay? All right, what is it with that you've enjoyed or are looking forward to most, I guess, besides the game?
Yeah, I'd say we're probably most excited for the hotel stay, honestly. We were talking about it actually today in class about like last year. We were like doing this try not to spit out this water trend with like our AD, and it was like really bad. Like McKenna got sick like the night before, like it was really, really bad. So probably the hotel stay because I feel like that's a good time for all of us to like hang out, which we don't like both teams like JV and varsity, we don't really hang out a bunch outside of basketball, so I feel like hotel stays kind of bring us closer.
Yeah, I feel like the hotel and like all the bus rides, like the hotel is so much fun because like we get out of our practice, we come there, we shower, we do whatever we want, then we go out to eat, and that's where everyone like actually starts getting social. So then we come back and we like run around like ding dong door ditch, like your other teammates, like call your other teammates, like all that fun stuff.
Why
And
would you say that?
they already know we do it. And
Oh my god.
we like to
Just
watch
told me all the
Netflix together.
secrets,
Like we'll
right?
sit there. Coach Vic will take our phones, like obviously for the nighttime, so that we can actually get some sleep. And we'll sit there and watch Netflix, which we're on like random stuff, and we'll all sit up there and watch it together. And I think that's really fun.
The famed McKenna video is the one where she like yaks on camera, right?
Yeah.
She started
How did you know about
I
that?
think she came over during dinner last year and told us that like in vivid detail in a very McKenna fashion.
Yeah, she did. She did. Yeah.
They were
Wonderful.
like,
Well, what? Oh, go ahead.
I don't. I think it was like a trend last year. They like held water in their mouth while they had RAD
Mr. Cheatham was just reading voice.
Yeah, and she was trying not to laugh but hold water in her mouth, and it just
Didn't go well.
didn't go
Have you
well
guys
at all.
hit any viral trends this year? Like, have you blown up with any of them yet?
Not yet, but you might see some this weekend.
We did make Mr. Cheatham do the scuba at the
I was gonna say that might be upcoming.
yeah.
Perfect. I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for hopping on with us. Best of luck here this weekend, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take
Bye.
care. AJ Mallad, Ava Wheeler with us here on the scores table. Thoughts on Borden here before we move over to Fremont?
That's a very loose group, man. You could just tell, like, in just the interview. There is an advantage, and it's coming from somebody who has never played in the state championship for basketball. Like, it having been there are different things, and everyone's like going to point to like media timeouts and all that. It's everything, man. It's everything from like hotel stays to the meals to the media timeouts to the lights, the sight lines, all of that. And I think Borden, if that interview is an indication of their entire basketball team and where they are mentally, they're going to be very loose. And that is a huge advantage because they mentioned that you had mentioned that they came out tight in the semi-state championship game. And I had mentioned in the recap show that I don't know if they had a made field goal before 3 minutes left in the first quarter. They since unfolded, and Rarick scored like 12 straight or something like that. And it was something ridiculous like that. But they don't have, I just think that they are going to get right into their game plan. And I think that's a very dangerous thing when Borden feels comfortable.
Join now, Jared Gilbert, head coach at Orleans. Orleans split with Borden during the season, so I thought who better to help us break it down. Jared, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for hopping on with us. So you have the rare distinction of being one of the few Class A teams to have beaten Borden here these past couple seasons, I guess. I guess, first of all, takeaways from that game and what differences you saw in the rematch there in regionals, aside from the obvious being, Avery Wheeler.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I think, a big key. But, the first time we went in, our game started very similar to what the regional was, where we got down, I think, 9-0. And the first time playing them, we were able to come back and we made a few more shots and kept it close. And then we were able to get the lead in the second quarter and kind of, really held the lead throughout the entire game, and we're able to hold them off towards the end. But they have so many weapons, they can hit you from so many different spots that, it was a good win for us, obviously. But we knew that if we were fortunate enough to play them again, that, they would want revenge, and we knew they weren't at 100% full strength. So Ava coming back obviously gives them, another shooter, another just experienced player that can do so much for them, that we knew it would be another challenge for us. But, we felt like if we could stick to our game plan and hopefully they weren't hitting all their shots, that we would hopefully stay close and maybe put a little pressure on them. But unfortunately, that didn't happen for us.
How do you go about attacking their length? Obviously, that's such a big strength of theirs. How do you approach that as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough part. One of the keys, I think, for us is, throughout the year, a lot of times we're the team with a lot of length, and we were able to trap and do some things to a lot of teams that we were able to turn them over, which led to a lot of our offense. And against them, we're almost forced to, pick either. We just kind of went to our man-to-man, which has been really good this year, but they present so many problems with how many shooters they have, plus Rarick going to the basket was our biggest concern, I think. So we weren't really able to use our traps as much as we would have liked. And so that definitely, kind of changes your game plan going in. And actually the Rarick, the first time I think had 22. So going into, she was a big key for us as we wanted to slow her down. So we wanted to really kind of make her make make jump shots and try to take away her drive because she's so good, and her length as a point guard, it's just a tough matchup for most teams. And so, going into it, that was what we were hoping to do, and make others make tough outside shots. And, she came out in the regional, and really their whole team, they were on fire. It was when she's making outside shots, she's almost impossible to guard. And then you add in the shooters around her. When they start making shots, we just, I thought I actually watched the first half today, and, we were down, I think 7 at end of the first, and felt pretty good as well as they shot the ball. And then they kind of got away from us there late in the second quarter, and then they never really cooled off there in the second half.
Jared, do you know Matt Vick outside? I mean, or just coaching?
Yeah,
okay.
Me and Mac's pretty good friends. I have a lot of respect for Matt. He's one of my favorite coaches to coach against. We have a pretty good relationship. We text and talk, and so always wishing him good luck. And told him after they beat us, I hope he was able to make a run and win it again.
One of the things, Jared, that we had analyzed on this, I mean, he comes out in 1-3-1 against Lafayette Central in the championship game last year. You played him twice. Do you feel like, as the opposing coach, what you're going to get from them? Like, or is it just like when you would play him as Orleans, like you would just go in and you're like, okay, well, I guess we're just going to read the first couple of possessions and go with it from there. What is that like as the opposing coach opposite Mac?
Yeah, I mean, you got to prepare for a lot of different things, really with him. And you never really knew. They kind of changed the lineup a little bit going into our game, which, we had been kind of preparing for how we wanted to guard certain people, and they went a little bit smaller. And so he kind of threw that wrench in there a little bit going into our regional game. But we knew both of them were going to play, so it wasn't that big a change. And but yeah, as far as their defenses go, you got to kind of prepare for their 2-2-1 press, and then they always have that 1-3-1 with their length that can cause a lot of problems. And then just their man-to-man and how, they're a physical team. They're big and strong. I compare them to a lot of the 3A and 4A teams as far as their size. And you just don't see that game in and game out with the teams we play. And they're just, just another animal as far as how to try to attack that. And when they're on, as far as their defense, it creates a lot of their offense too. They run the floor so well. So when they can turn you over, they're just almost impossible to stop.
One more question before I throw it back to Hank. You had mentioned Riley Rarick, and I don't want to be redundant and ask about her. So let me just say this: like, if you had your Orleans scouting report, is there somebody 2, 3, 4 lines maybe down that you're like, what? Watch out for this kid, Hank and Danny, on Saturday. She's not going to be on the Rarick line at the top, but she's somebody who would, if you let her, she's really going to hurt you.
Well, I think the heart, inside, she's kind of the unsung hero, where she just does all the dirty work. She gets the, watching the game back today, it was a tight game. And next thing you know, she gets a huge offensive rebound, kicks it out, and they hit a big 3-pointer. And that kind of, I thought, changed a lot, as far as our game went. And you just watch the tape and you just see it over and over again, where it seemed like when they need a big basket, even back in the sectional, watching those games, she came through when there's a couple of tight games when they needed a basket, and whether it was a rebound or whatever it might be. But she just always seems to make the big play when she's needed. She's, sometimes goes unnoticed, but when it's time for a big play to be made, it seems like she's always there and always making it. So she's a heck of a player as well.
Jared, one last one. I'm curious, year over year, do you think that this Borden team this year is better than the group maybe that they had last year?
Well, I mean, it's hard. I think I definitely thought that against us. I think they shot around 70% right at it, and I think they were 8 of 14 from the 3-point line. And when they're playing like that, they look. I thought they looked a lot like they did last year. The first time we played them, they didn't make those shots, but and they were, when they're focused and on, like they were that game, I can't imagine a team would have to play really well to beat them. But as far as the last year, I don't know, with the experience, I think that helps, the fact that they've been there and they just kind of got that confidence about them. When they step on the floor, you just feel like they think they're going to win. And, that goes a long way, especially when you've been there and you've done that. And so they definitely have that going for them where, and sometimes when a confident team like that, it's hard to overcome that.
Sure. Well, Jared, thank you so much for hopping on with us, sir. Congratulations on a successful season, and we'll talk to you here next year.
All right. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Jared Gilbert of Orleans talking with us about Borden. Danny, with that, we're going to flip up to the north side of the matchup once Chloe gets her camera on here and talk with Fremont, the Fremont side of that matchup, joined now by Grace Scharlach and Chloe Verdin of Fremont. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. How these first 2 days of practice been?
It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of fun. All the girls are excited. And the energy has just been really, I think it's the best I've seen all season, honestly.
Chloe, what about you? How is it? What's your read on things?
It's really a great experience, and I think we're all taking it in, even though we need to be focused, but we're really just enjoying our time together and, grateful and having the best time we can.
Have you guys made a conscious effort to kind of step back and just kind of enjoy and appreciate the fact they're going to be playing for a state championship here?
Yeah, definitely this week, especially going down there tomorrow. I think that should be one of our goals, is to take a step back and be like, wow, we actually did it.
Yes, for sure.
What time do you guys have the shoot around tomorrow at Gamebridge? What time are you going to have to leave Fremont?
8 a.m., I think. But our practice is at 1, though.
Okay, so that's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Grace, you and I talked about this, but for Danny and the audience, talk us through the scene coming back to town on Saturday night and just everything that went into that, both of you guys.
Yeah, it's just really amazing. We had a police escort back into town, and then there was fire trucks, and everybody was lining the streets. We just have so much support from our community. It's just so great. The energy is just outmatched.
And it was a snowstorm too, right, Chloe?
Yes, it was. But we still had lots of fans out cheering for us and supporting us.
Girls, congratulations. Enjoy this week. Don't let it, it'll be over like that. Okay. But about the game, about your team, this is a great opportunity to kind of talk about you guys and everything about you. And I want to start with Shea Thomas, your coach. You probably heard the comments. We were celebrating Matt Vick, his experience, some of the things that he has done. When I watch you guys on film, I'm really impressed with Coach Thomas, really impressed. Individual game plans, adjustments when people pick up their second, Lenai Davis picks up her second foul, you guys completely change what you do. Those are some of the little nuanced things that are you have to be ready for every situation, and she seems to be. Grace, you go ahead and start. Can you talk to us about Shea Thomas? What's she all about? How much you enjoy playing for her? How good is she?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. She's been our coach since 7th grade, I want to say. So I feel like I've definitely seen her grow. And against Marquette, she threw a new defense at us. And I think that was a really big step for her and her coaching staff. And we tried something new, and it really worked out. It kind of shocked them, I feel like. So it's definitely been a good experience. And I think that we all really appreciate having her as a coach.
Chloe, has Shea this season, has it been a little bit more advanced with some of the things that you guys are doing and things like throwing in defense? Is that something new, or is that something you experienced as underclassmen as well?
Well, in the beginning, we had our strict defense, but I think going into this postseason with changing everything, it has really been advanced, because obviously the other teams aren't expecting just something new and random to come out. So I really think that has helped us be so successful in this postseason, is because they don't know what to do with it.
Grace, give Maya Turner her bouquet. She's so good. She played so well in the semi-state championship game. She's your backcourt running. If she's your everything running mate, it seems like she does something different every basketball game to help you win. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about Maya Turner.
Yeah, she's unbelievable. Honestly, that block that she had in I think it was the last game of the semi-state, she's just unreal. She has such long arms and she has a lot of hops and she really gets a lot of deflections and she really gets us going on defense and she's great at grabbing those offensive and defensive rebounds. And I think that she's really a key part of the team and our success.
Chloe and you guys aren't sitting next to each other, but I guess it looks like you are in the screen. But tell us about Grace. 54% from three. She doesn't seem to miss, I don't know, ever. And when she does, it's a surprise to all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? I mean, she's not just a 54% 3-point shooter that never misses. She's so much more than that. And I want you to explain that to our audience.
Well, obviously, she's an amazing basketball player. She is a huge asset to her team. But outside of basketball, she's a great teammate. She's always there for us. She encourages us, whether we're having a great night or a bad night. And if she's off, she gets her teammates working and just really molds our team together as a basketball player and person.
That's great. I'm not sure how to ask this question, but it always was just like throughout the year, it was always like Marquette Catholic out of the north, Borden out of the south, Marquette Catholic out of the north, Borden out of the south. But you guys were there, like you guys were so good the whole year. Has there been a level of maybe like we are the underdogs or a sense of we are underappreciated? Did you guys channel into that at all? Is that a real thing?
Yes, I think we have been downgraded in our abilities and stuff.
Yeah, especially going into the Marquette game, like obviously they're number one or they were number one, so obviously everyone thought they were going to win, but I think we kind of just shocked everybody. And as well as playing ECA, I saw some things like, oh, they're going to win by 7 and then here we are and we kind of came out of the nowhere again. So, but it's good that we've been upsetting these teams. I think it gives us a little bit better hype, I guess.
Well, okay, so stay there for a second. Okay, so you did feel underappreciated. Chloe comes right out with it and admits it, and that's great. You beat Marquette Catholic. What changes in the locker room immediately? Like, where's your mindset after the Marquette Catholic game?
We just knew that we need to focus on the next game. Like, we got past one game, and we just think of the next game going forward and just know that we're not supposed to win, and we haven't been really predicted by many people, but to just come locked in and be ready for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Grace, I just have a go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just had a question about being like just from a coach. It just seems like coach puts you in opportunities to get your shot off. Like I was talking about how she like in the Marquette Catholic game seems like she set you 15 side ball screens. You take it with like almost your shoulders square that if they make a mistake, you're going to launch it. Can you just talk about your approach maybe for some of the younger players or for me as a coach as to what you're thinking when you are a 54% 3-point shooter, how you can get that shot off?
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. Half the time I don't think. I just shoot it. But if there is any thinking, making sure that my feet are on balance and I'm not like tripping over myself and make sure that balance, eyes fall. I don't know. I just kind of go through the mechanics in my head if there ever is a thought there.
Sure. All right. Well, let's get on to Borden. So I'll just leave it really open-ended at the beginning here. Tell us what you know about them or just talk about them broadly.
I'll go. I think that obviously they have 6 foot, 5'10", so they're tall, obviously a lot taller than us. And I think going into the game, we need to make sure that we're pass faking on defense because they're long and they'll get tips and then transition, obviously. And we need to make sure that we're also shot faking so that we take care of the ball on offense.
Yeah, I think we just need to work as a team. Like, we have this energy. We weren't supposed to be here. And so I think we just need to take that and just go do our thing and run the court, go up and down, and just do what we know how to do.
Teams like this with length, Grace, I think you and I talked about this yesterday a little bit, but is this something that you've seen before, a team with quite this amount of length, or is this kind of going to be something new for you guys matching up against?
I think Angola and Fairfield are probably one of the 2 tallest teams that we've seen, but I don't think they have as much height as Borden does all the way around their roster.
So, Chloe, then when you're preparing for that this week, do you bring in boys practice players? Do the coaches come out with like those pool noodles? What do you guys do, I guess, to prepare for that, or paddles, I guess, or whatever?
We have some boys helping us and we don't take a minute off. We're always just going and, practicing the fundamentals like pass faking, shot faking, all the little things to get us ready.
Yeah. What part of state championship week beyond the game are you guys most looking forward to?
I think the atmosphere, like, we've gotten this far, so I think that we're just gonna have a lot of fans, and I think it's a brand new experience for us. I think we're just gonna have to take it in and focus. Obviously the nerves are gonna be there, but I think that we need to focus on the game once we get there and take everything in and just make sure that we're doing everything that we practiced all year in order to pull off the win.
Yeah. Well, thank you girls so much for hopping on with us. Best of luck here this Saturday.
Thank you.
Take
Bye,
care.
girls. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Grace, Scharlach, Chloe, Verdin with us here on the scores table. Dan, you're going to go ahead and bring on Katie Collignon from Marquette Catholic to help us talk about Fremont. Hey, Katie.
Hey guys, how is it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
It's a
Hey,
little
Katie,
early.
before Hank goes, can I ask you a question just real quick, okay?
Let's
Do
do it.
you wear a blazer because you are the Marquette Catholic Blazers? I never put 2 and 2 together.
You got
That's-
it.
Okay.
Genius.
I was like, oh my God, that's why she wears blazers. I just thought it was like your look. And and then I realized, I guess I never knew who your mascot was, but anyway, Hank, there you
Yes.
go. The
That
Marquette
is-
Catholic Blazers, and she wear,
It's genius work over here I'm doing. That's for sure.
and everybody's gonna pretend like they knew that, but they didn't. Like, and
Not
so
everybody.
now you know.
That's very true.
All right,
Danny
Hank.
just exposed like the biggest secret going. Like that was a great bit that you had going. Just
Yeah, something like that for sure.
so how have, I know it's earlier than you would hope for or expected, but just how have these first few weeks of the off season been for you?
They've been all right, I'd say. Pretty melancholy around campus, actually. When your season ends a little earlier than expected, you kind of have that sadness, kind of that grieving process. I had a great team, great seniors, so you're sad to see them go. But, I think the dust and this kind of settling now when you're starting to think of what we have coming back and the excitement for next year already. But yeah, it's been pretty sad to say the least.
It wasn't just that Fremont beat you guys, it was the fashion in which they did it. I think specifically on the defensive end where they threw in something totally new, totally unexpected. Just talk us through your perspective on that. What was like, what you saw from them and what you guys were trying to do to counteract what they did against you.
Yeah, I think, we watched almost every game that they played. And, we saw them play some different defenses. So we really were focused on attacking that 1-2-2 kind of defense they play majority of the time. But we knew they'd throw in some 2-3s. We saw them through a diamond and 2 before, or a diamond and 1 and a triangle and 2 before. So we did practice that, but they did such a good job of mixing up every single possession that we never really got in a flow. And like, I think the girls were just talking about taking care of the ball. They took care of the ball pretty well too. Our press caused us a lot of problems for people and it really didn't. And so when our offense wasn't flowing and our defense couldn't turn into offense, you could see my girls just not be able to get in that normal kind of offensive flow that we were able to most of the season. So I credit them and their hard work and focus on that.
The way that they switched defenses, was that something you guys had encountered before? Because you're playing, we talked about this early in the season, some pretty big schools.
No, probably the first time. That how quickly they did it. Almost every time down the floor, something different. So that was smart. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
What does Borden need to do then? Is it then, like, I don't know that you would have done anything different. You try to be the best versions of yourself. So put yourself in Matt Vick's shoes, knowing that, we all know we're not giving away a trade secret. They play a flat 3-2, they play some man, they play some triangle 2, box and 1. We've seen it all in the last 4 weeks.
Right.
So how do you go about it when you're preparing to play Fremont and you're Borden?
Do some of the things that I was preaching to my kids that we just never really did was like to have a flow of your offense no matter what they're in. Have your kids be able to pass, move, do some kind of like not fake offense. But that's what I kind of call it. Some early offense. Yeah. Get some movement involved so you can kind of see what they are in right away. I feel like we didn't really do a good job of that. So my point guard was kind of stuck. Didn't know what to really call. And it was a loud gym. Fremont came out in their forces to be there for their team. And so the communication really wasn't there. So if I was them, I'd have some fake offense, get some movement going on so they can kind of see, okay, they're sitting back in that 2-3 or they're face guarding these 2 players and they can kind of get into whatever their offense is from there.
Pennzoil, Pleasant, Davis, like you have a great backcourt at Marquette Catholic, and you're going to return 2 pieces of those. They also have a great backcourt. Grace Scharlach, Maya Turner. Tell us your perspective on them.
Oh, for sure. Just gamers, for sure. I mean, especially Grace in their point guard position. She just controls the game for her. You can see the coach has a lot of trust in her. They set her up for a lot of shots, which I would too. And she just can knock the big shot down when they need it. I mean, a game as defeated as we were, I rewatched it probably twice now. We were down 2 points for till about 3 minutes to go in the game. And I think our team was playing like we were down 15. But anytime they needed a big bucket, she was ready for one, and then does a great job involving her teammates as well. Maya's super athletic, a lot more than I think people give her credit for. Does a lot of good work inside. And again, their supporting cast did their job. And when you do that, you can, surprise some people and then make it to the state finals and have a good shot at it.
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago, we had Jared Gilbert on from New Orleans who had played Borden. And I asked him a question, and I'll ask you the same question about Borden, about Fremont. Scharlach and Turner are easy to identify on film and on the scouting report. Who is 3 or 4 lines down where you're like, you know what? Watch out for this person on Saturday. They did a couple of really good things against us, and they can really hurt Borden if they don't pay attention to it.
I mean, really, their rotation's only about 5. I mean, sometimes they have a kid come off the bench. So really, it wasn't too hard to be like, oh, don't forget about their 8th, 9th player that can come in, sometimes get 8, 9, 10 in the game. But I feel like all their kids just really know their role, stick to their role, and do their job. So if they're going to run, maybe a high ball screen this time, they're going to pop it. They're big and step out and hit the 3. So that was something that we were concerned about, is that all 5 players could shoot the 3, and they put them in really good spots where they're high percentage shots for them. I think they have one kid that really can hit the corner 3. She will not shoot anywhere else, but they find her in that corner. So when you do little things like that, that's how you're still playing that last week of February.
And Katie, this is the last one I have before Hank kind of closes out the interview. What kind of an advantage does being in the state championship in previous years give you? And I ask this under the context that you've been there several times and you know all of the different things that come with being a state championship competitor. What can Borden kind of lean into to make that an advantage for them?
I think definitely their experience, when you've played down there already at Banker's Life and you've kind of been in that arena setting, something that's much different than any kind of even bigger gym is in Indiana, and just the almost vastness that it creates for the teams. I think you're able to rely on that a little bit more. I know when we went back our second year, our nerves were much more calm than they were that first year. We were a little hungry, even though we won the first year. We didn't like the fashion in which we won. So I don't know if Borden has any of that, saying, let's just go get this thing right from the tip and kind of finish it out. So I think that's definitely puts them in an advantage point a little bit, but there is something about newness and playing your best basketball into February. I always say you want to, peak at the right time. And I think that's where Fremont's sitting right now. So I think it's gonna be a great game.
One more, Katie, before we get you out of here. As a coach, what is your favorite part of being involved in state championship weekend, aside from the game? Like, is there anything that's special that you found especially memorable you always enjoyed from those trips to Indy?
Oh, I mean, you got to love Monday, the big media day for the girls. I think just previously they started really bringing them down and showcasing them on videos. And that's just cool to see. You put all this effort in, from June or years prior to see your kids on the big screen, I think is awesome. And really just the fan excitement. I mean, they're coming down to a big game. They're coming where the Pacers play, where the Fever play, and they get to have tickets. They get to watch their kid or the kid they had in class or my neighbor. And the way that people come out for you at the state championship game just really changes the entire atmosphere. And you get a lot of bandwagon fans, but you're happy to have them. So I think that just is an amazing thing just for high school girls basketball.
Well, thank you, Katie, so much for hopping on with us. Congratulations, you guys, on another successful season, and we'll be talking here soon, I'm sure.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See you, Katie.
Take care.
Katie Collignon of Marquette Catholic with us talking Borden versus Fremont. Any closing thoughts on Class A, Danny, before we move on over to 2A?
No, I will say this. I think the two big things what to watch if you don't know much about these basketball teams and you're just like, all right, just summarize it for me, okay? For Fremont, Scharlach and Turner. For Borden, Rarick and Wheeler. Yes, there are other great players across the board, but those are 4 college basketball players that headline each roster, headline each backcourt, and that is going to be explosive. And if you say guards win games, you're going to see really quickly as to why these teams are there. The second is the defensive piece that we had talked about, the Fremont 3-2, box and 1, triangle and 2, all of those different things that they do. And then, what's the Matt Vick surprise that he has wrapped up and he's going to unwrap it in the first quarter of this game? We don't know. We talk to Matt all the time. and you and I had no indication whatsoever that he was going to run 1-3-1 against Lafayette Central Catholic. So I am very anxious to see what Shea Thomas has cooked up and what Matt Vick has cooked up. But watch this one, because this one's going to be really good. Again, 2 of the 4 best teams in Class A all year.
That's going to be a good one, too. And it was interesting. Katie mentioned it, just the speed with which Fremont is able to switch their defenses. And that's something that I'll probably write about later this week. And I talked to Shea about at media day yesterday, but just how her and her staff are able to be a little bit more advanced with what they do as coaches and what they're comfortable doing with this specific group of kids. And that's a fascinating kind of underlying storyline to this, is just that, like the coaching battle, like you mentioned, between her and
I will add to that too. When you are Borden, and if the majority of your games that you play, you are up by 20 plus, like you don't get really the opportunity for somebody to be in a close game and give you those different looks. I do think that is maybe a minor advantage to Fremont if it were to be a close game, to have experience against Elkhart Christian and Marquette Catholic and those 2 games kind of back to back, whereas coming into it, Borden has just mowed everybody down.
But they haven't, though. They had to come back against Elkhart Christian. They were down 14, and then in the section we talked to Matt last week, I think that sectional championship game, I think, wound up being a little bit closer than what most of expect, a little bit of tightness too. So, and then earlier in the season too. But you're right, like that certainly helps Fremont. But I wouldn't say that Borden is completely devoid of that experience either. Like they've been in some tight games. They've been on the wrong end of a couple, like that Orleans game. I saw them play Connersville in the year. They played Floyd Central, so they're both experienced.
They were also 50-14 at the end of the third quarter of the semi-state championship game, though. I mean, when they get it going, they're a wagon.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. With that, we're going to shift up to Class 2A. Go ahead and play an interview from Oak Hill. I will apologize in advance for the audio. We had some technical difficulties. I had to call in on top of the StreamYard and should have just muted my mic, but I'm a dummy. But anyway, what matters is that I don't talk a ton in this. It's mostly the interviewees who talk. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and play the interview. And we are joined now by Coach Kerri of Oak Hill, getting ready to take on Eastern Pekin in the Class 2A state championship game. Kerri and Bree, I know that we've talked off air a few times. We talked yesterday, but just, it's all still kind of sinking in, isn't it? That you guys are going to be in the state championship game in a couple days.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy.
It's a fun experience, but it's hard to believe that there's one game left.
Kerri, have you even had a chance to sleep yet? Been trying to get scouting in and top of all your administrative work?
I don't feel like I've gotten much sleep, but I'm very fortunate to have a great coaching staff who helps fill in on all the roles of scouting and watching film and helping wherever they can. So it kind of eases things up on me a little bit.
Brief from a player's perspective, what did Sunday look like for you? Did you kind of relax? Did you start digging into film? What did you do over those 24 hours after you were semi-state?
Yeah, so Sunday was kind of just like a rest day. Definitely trying to rejuvenate my body and just get everything back to where it was before. But I also did start watching some film. Might have fallen asleep during it, but I did start watching some.
I'll start there with Eastern. As you guys are starting to study film and dig into things, what jumps out to when you watch that game play?
When I watch Eastern, it's a combination of Whitco and Bremen. I feel like it's a lot of different defenses and different they work the ball a lot, which is good, but it's going to be hard to get all their defenses down and just to get it all together.
Kerri, what have you picked up on with them?
A lot of the same things. They're very athletic. They're long. They got a couple girls that can shoot from deep. They do throw out different defenses. I'm assuming they're going to try to pack it in. I mean, we got some size. So it's going to be a lot of preparing on what they're going to do to us defensively. But I do feel like Bree said they have a good combination of Whitco style and Bremen style, a little bit mixed together. So we have a little experience with that, but there's still a lot of studying that we need to do.
When you guys are preparing for Eastern, I know that they had a lot of injuries earlier in the season. Do you try and focus your film study on towards the end of the season and they're a little bit healthier, or do you just still go full array from the start of the season to the end of it?
We're getting as much as we can, early, late. We want to look at all their tendencies. What have they done in the past? What are they doing now? It's the last game of the season. We could see anything thrown at us, so we want to see as much film as we can, whether it's early or late, just to see what kind of tendencies they have.
Kerri Bree mentioned yesterday when we caught up just that this team kind of was able to play free of expectations and didn't really feel the pressure necessarily at semi-state. When you watch that group on the floor, were you surprised at all by how, I don't know, oblivious almost to the pressure they were? And do you agree with that assessment?
I wouldn't say that I was surprised. I think it was more proud on how they held their composure. We had talked about, how Whitco and Bremen, they're going to get runs. How we respond to those runs is going to be huge. And the way that these girls withheld those runs, kept their head held high. When they did get a run, they didn't drop their heads. They didn't shut down. They just kept pushing forward. They kept fighting together. And it was just really a proud moment after all that kind of came to an end.
Bree, I was watching your guys' game against Whitco down in Jasper, and it seemed like every time I looked down, it was Whitco kind of chipping away the lead, and they get within, I think, 4. And then I looked out again, and I think he might have gotten it back up to 9 or 12. What were you guys saying inside the huddle and on the floor as players to keep yourselves kind of stabilized? What did leadership look like in that moment?
Yeah, so a lot of times they did get runs, and they did, get back up from where they were. But we were just keep going because just because we're up, it doesn't mean we win, and kind of just to push through. And everyone was talking to each other, which was really good. And a lot of leadership stood out during that too.
Who were the ones for you guys in those moments that stepped up and kind of takes the reins for this group?
During the Whitco game, especially Erica Newhouse, a lot of leadership then, and she really helped us when it came down to stressing or nerves or anything, and she really helped us and pick us up there.
Then with the Bremen game, what was the approach defensively there? I mean, you guys they wound up attempting on 32 3-pointers and then finished shooting 32% from the field. What were you guys doing against that?
Just a lot of good hard man defense, I feel like, and especially with the threes and they have 2 bigs. Especially with those, we're just trying to do a lot of box outs, rebounds, and just trying to get the ball as much as possible.
Kerri, obviously, I'm assuming you were thrilled with the girls' effort on that defensive end. That's a really good team that they shut down.
Absolutely thrilled. As a coach, you always kind of pick at things a little bit. But overall, the girls did a great job defensively. This team takes scouting pretty seriously now. They do a great job of watching film. I have some assistant coaches that do a great job of breaking down individual players. So they're constantly asking those coaches questions on what does this person do? How do I need to defend this? So they really become students of the game.
That's been kind of a theme I've noticed in this tournament, just the role of the assistant coaches and kind of helping with scouting and all that. Talk to me about your staff, how it came together, who all has been helping you this year and getting you guys to this point.
Well, I have my dad on the sidelines as an assistant. He has been involved in basketball for as long as I can remember. He never coached me, but I've been fortunate enough to coach with him. He's a huge film guy. That's all he does day and night right now is watch film and break down plays. Then I've got Ben Johnson, who's a junior high teacher here. He coaches junior high football. He coaches varsity softball here. He finds time to help us here, and he's doing JV basketball and assistant on varsity. He does a great job of breaking down individual players and their tendencies. So he's watching a lot of game film. The girls are always going to him. He specializes in matchups for us. Just a great job on film study. I've got Adriana Rudy, used to be Trexler, so she's an alumni of Oak Hill. So there's a little history there with her in Eastern in the state finals. She does a great job of keeping the girls grounded. She's great with scouting, in-game scouting for live games. She does great with changes on the bench for us. I think having her go through this experience has really helped the girls. I've got Kerri Rhodes, who is new this year. I brought her in especially for our post. We didn't have a true post coach. So her main job has been to really work with Bree and Mo throughout the season. They do a lot of individual work with the post, and I think she's done an amazing job with them. So I think they've created a great relationship. And then we brought on Pierre Wilson. He actually coached our 6th grade boys this year. He's from Eastbrook. He's been a great addition with film study. He helps us out with different defenses. He's kind of an energy giver, a little bit of Bree's goofiness with him. He'll break down and make sure that the girls are at ease. So I'm just beyond blessed with the group that I have surrounding me to help us through this.
Bree, that's interesting. What's it been like for you having a coach dedicated to the post and kind of working with you in your specific position?
Yeah, having Coach Rhodes has meant a ton. She has brought us in, taught us tons of new things, worked with me and Mo especially in high-low and everything a post can do, and it's been really great.
That's awesome. Kerri and Bree, both of you guys, last week was trivia leading into semi-state. Do you have anything fun like that planned going into state championships now?
What was the radio yesterday? What were those questions?
The radio this week is more of a questions about ourselves and getting to know us better, and not more of a trivia or anything.
Okay. I like that. That's fun. That's something different too. How have you liked redoing all the media? I mean, yesterday bombarded with reporters all the time. You're gonna have all this through the week. You have a luncheon tomorrow. How have you liked the experience so far?
Yeah, it's definitely been different, but it's been really fun getting to go through the process and everything.
That's really cool. Well, Kerri and Bree, thank you guys so much for hopping on with me. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys play in person on Saturday.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There you go, my Lou Gehrig sounding interview with Kerri Barcomb and Bree Dailey of Oak Hill. My audio sounded terrible, but their audio sounded really good, thankfully. And yeah, that's another game that I'm interested in. Danny, you referenced their size. I was interested to hear Kerri talk about her coaching staff and just how that's constructed, the steps that she's taken this year, specifically bringing in a coach to work with those post players to help them grow their game.
And Bree's answer to it also corroborated one of the things that we had seen on film. She said they really helped us with our high-low game. That's the best weapon that Oak Hill has, especially if you play them in zone, because Kate's and Dailey both have mobility. They are not just strong side block kind of people, but they work really well together. Like if you put an Oak Hill game on portrait mode and you just looked at Kate's and Dailey and their movement on the offensive side, particularly, and everything else was blurred out. There are rules to high-low basketball and dual post basketball. Rules if one player is high, you would be low opposite. So if one player is on left elbow, you have the other player on right block. And the other player, Kate's or Dailey, needs to move based on the movement of the other player. But they move so well in tandem. And now that I know that they have a dedicated coach with that stuff, that it has yielded results. Those two kids have really, really looked good in tandem in playing that kind of two-post system that Oak Hill boasts.
They're one of those teams that seems to have peaked at the right time. They knocked off, I think it was, I talked to guys yesterday, I think it was a turning point was kind of that late season win over Alexandria. I think they got them by a couple points late in the regular season. Or no, they boat raced them actually 51-33. But just kind of that was their turning point, a launching point for that group in this season. And just when they kind of started finding their stride. And their point guard too, last week talked to her, Landry Hardman. And it's fun with her. She didn't really want to be a point guard when she first came into the varsity ranks. But the coach, they had some conversations about it, and she took the responsibility and has stepped into that role as a junior. And I mean, she's been phenomenal this year, averaging 5.2 assists per game. And when you mix that with the size, I mean, that's a heck of a 1-2 punch.
Yeah. It is. You know what I like about Oak Hill, though? In bracket play, everybody's heard me say this because I say it all the time on this show, but in bracket play, you don't have to beat the best. Sometimes you just have to be on the opposite side of the bracket, let somebody else beat the best, and then you beat them. That's not what Oak Hill did. No. They took down Whitco. Whitco was my favorite. It was a lot of people's favorite. The computers loved them. The polls loved them. Whitco was the team, and they played them head to head. And they handled the press. They imparted their identity on Whitco. They led that game comfortably. They answered when Whitco punched back. I think it's really impressive if Whitco was in fact your number one seed in the North, when you beat the number one seed, you are now the number one seed. You take their seed. And so after that game, very similar to Fremont, when they beat Marquette Catholic, they became the number one seed in the North. Oak Hill was able to play up to the expectations of being a number 1 seed by taking down Whitco, and I find that extremely impressive because I think it validates their arrival by taking them down. To me, it just does.
I think I'm just trying to rack my brain here on what the other options are, but I think they maybe had the most difficult semi-state road to get to the state finals of any class. I'm trying to think of who comes close to that because they beat number 1 Whitco and then turn around and beat number 7 Bremen. And that game against Whitco, like I said during the interview, they're in control for a large chunk of that game. And then in the second half, Whitco starts going on those runs that they knew were coming, and they get it down to 4. And I don't think that it ever got closer than 4. Maybe got down to 2 once. But it just seemed like every time that it got within 4, a couple baskets for Oak Hill, suddenly the leads right back out to a more comfortable margin before they're able to pull away. But I mean, just the response from that team, that is a pretty, a relatively young group, not a ton of seniors on that roster, is just, I mean, you can't say enough about that. And like you said, I mean, just the momentum that you gained from a 2-game swim like that is unbelievable.
Well, it's a really smart bring up by you about Bremen too, because let's keep in mind that the Whitco game and the Bremen game that Oak Hill had to play in the semi-state came just hours apart.
Yeah,
but they're a country mile in regards to what they do on the floor in scheme. Whitco being that full court 84 feet run and jump man basketball team, and then Bremen kind of being this inside the 3-point line zone basketball team. Those are 2 very different styles. That is something that I know we talked about, Kerri and her coaching staff, that you have to have a good coaching staff in order to be able to change what your identity is not change what your identity is, but to play against such different styles in just a couple hours apart. It's like what AAU coaches do, right? They play at 11 and they play at 5. Like that's what they had to do in this game. And it was 2 totally different styles, and Oak Hill came out on top of both of them, which is really, really, I mean, you cannot overstate how impressive that is.
Yeah, you really can't. And their 3 losses this year, I mean, LaPel, Northfield, and Heritage Christian, 2 of those 3 teams we're pretty familiar with. LaPel's a dang good team, and Heritage Christian as well. Heritage Christian was one of the teams that I would have expected to be on the opposite side of them if it weren't for Park Heritage and what they pulled off. That's really interesting. You watched Oak Hill on film, and you were texting me that you were really impressed with them. What jumped out to you most about them? Was it just the height?
They have an identity like that, and that should be consistent with anybody that listens to me with any sort of regularity. We talk about it with Norwell. Norwell has an identity on the offensive and defensive side, particularly the defensive side when you talk about Center Grove. Oak Hill, you have to stop Cates and Dailey, and if you're Oak Hill, you have to get Cates and Dailey going. Yes, they probably get a lot of fatigue in just hearing somebody talk about, Cates and Dailey, we're more than that, so on and so forth. But everything stems off of that. I think it's very difficult to play Oak Hill in zone, because the ability to find open space I think with somebody like Cates and Dailey, somebody who's capable of making that kind of 12 to 16 foot shot or catching it on the nail and being able to do something. If you're in an even front zone, a 2-3 zone, for example, and somebody catches it in the middle, that middle zone defender has to come up and respect that catch. That leaves a mismatch on the backside if they are high-low opposite. If Dailey catches it, that leaves a mismatch for Cates. If Cates catches it, it leaves a mismatch for Dailey. And that identity, to me, makes them so tough. So the reason why I'm so impressive is I always say I'm impressed by teams when I can watch them knowing nothing about them, not having coached any of their basketball players, not having any relationship with their coach. If I can watch one basketball game and say, you know what? That's their identity. That's what they try to do. I find that impressive. And then it's corroborated when you watch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basketball games and realize, you know what? This is who they are. And they're really, really good at it.
Yeah. With that, we're going to flip over to the other side of this matchup. We're joined now. Get the screen right here. Joined now by Coach Taylor Drury and Senior Avery Smith of Eastern Pekin. Taylor and Avery, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Avery, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. How is the first 2 days now of state championship week treating you guys?
I mean, it's awesome. We're just so excited and happy to be here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What's the scene been like around Pekin this week, Avery?
I mean, everybody is like, the whole community has come together. It's just like awesome to see people you never see at games
like excited to come to state and all that kind of. It's just amazing.
Taylor, has this been just kind of like a surreal experience, or has it kind of started hitting you as you're getting through all the administrative work you have to do with state finals week?
Yeah. You know, after Saturday, everybody's super amped up. You know, a lot of adrenaline pumping, and you know, Sunday night after the dust kind of settles, it really hit me, and it's phenomenal, and it's just it is a little surreal at the same time, but yeah, it's awesome.
For both of you guys, and Avery, obviously this impacts you, but just the injuries that this group has had to navigate. How have you persevered? How have you made it through the injuries? And does this feel like a group now that you're finally healthy, that you've been able to kind of peak in February? Taylor, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, we were riddled with injuries throughout the entire season. You know, and I think it would be really easy to get frustrated in those times, but I feel very strongly that we had a lot of girls step up and kind of gain some confidence through those injuries. And I really felt like, as much as it sucked being in those trenches with all those injuries and stuff, I do feel like it gave some girls some confidence, and hopefully that's part of the reason why we're in the position we are.
Avery, you're obviously one of those who are injured. First of all, how's your foot doing? Was it a Liz Frank fracture?
I tore my Liz Frank, or partially tore my Liz Frank, but
Okay.
It's doing good now.
Okay, that's good to hear. So I talked to your twin sister the other day, and she mentioned that when you were out, that it kind of put her in a funk, and she just wasn't quite herself. And just, could you see that kind of from your perspective? And what do you do as her sister? And Taylor, obviously you two as her coach, just try to help her get through that, get out of that funk.
I think she put so much pressure on herself because, like, we always had each other to, like, pick each other up, but, like, her putting all that pressure on herself just got her into that. So I was always trying to be the biggest cheerleader on the sidelines, trying to help her out of that position. And I feel like everybody could see it, but I feel like she just put so much pressure on herself because she felt like she had to play two roles, not just her role now. So we're always trying to pick each other up, and I feel like that was my role most of the season this year because I was always on the sidelines. But, like, it was a rough experience, but I feel like she's stronger from it, and that's what we needed in postseason.
Yeah, there was definitely I don't know, she probably did use the word funk, but I don't know if I would say a funk because she still performed extremely well. But she did, like Avery's a big key on the boards for us, and Addie did step up tremendously in that role. While Avery was absent, and I'll throw, Katie Honor in that mix too. I mean, there was a lot of kids that stepped up in that role, but there's also a lot that Avery does that you can't replicate. So we definitely missed her.
Taylor, congratulations on getting your team here. It's been fun to watch you kind of through this run. I'm going to take you back to the Austin game. You showed a little bit of this, kind of an odd front zone, like tempo zone. And on the first ball reversal, you would tag Addie on Bryn Owens. And then against Park Heritage, later in your postseason run, you ran a lot of different pressures, but none of them were that odd front and then attached to man. There seems to be a defensive focus with your coaching philosophy. Can you talk about kind of what your philosophy is as a coach and how it's kind of helped you through this postseason run?
Yeah. I don't know. If you would have asked me this a long time ago, I'm not I'm not a defensive minded person. I was not a defensive minded player. I love the offensive side of the floor. But I put a lot of faith in our upperclassmen on the offensive end, and I trust them to kind of take care of business down there. And I just, with our dynamic on our team right now, I just felt like we had a lot of capability to kind of throw a lot of different defensive schemes out there. And the girls are really, really good about being able to switch those up quick and being able to kind of grasp the concept of it might be that we're running a 2-3 zone in two different games, but we're kind of emphasizing different things throughout it. But I think the biggest thing is the girls have been really really receptive to being able to do that, and that makes it easy for me, you know, when the girls are able to kind of pull that off.
Well, you have a new fan in me. I have really enjoyed kind of seeing the different nuance that you've had in each game, particularly on the defensive side. Avery, I'm going to ask you about Burton. There's a kid playing in the 3A game by the name of Mary Blakey. She plays for Belmont, and she just seems to be kind of their everything in the middle floor. Like, the note that I had in my head about Burton was that she is like your Blakey. She just seems to be so important to what you do. Her last name isn't Smith. You know, you're not doing any of the different things that you were doing. Well, a little bit from the defensive side, but Avery, talk about the importance of Burton to your basketball team in this postseason run.
I think she is what gets us inside, and we have a bunch of shooters to go around her, but we need her to be in the middle to get the ball back out to the shooters. We need her in the middle to give us a threat in there, so inside, so we can go get the 3-pointers, or we can get the dump downs and the high-low action, because that's what's helped us win in the postseason so far. So we just need her in there playing strong and finishing, and that's what we need her to do to be successful.
Taylor, have you guys leaned into this underdog Cinderella kind of thing? Like, is that okay to, I mean, let us know. I mean, is that what you're leaning into and using as motivation?
Yeah. I think the girls take to it really well. Like I think that it gives them an extra incentive, you know, to want to go out there and improve. And I always tell them, like, obviously I have all the faith in the world in them, you know, but I want them to be able to showcase what I see in them. And I think, you know, I do think we've been the underdog, you know, pretty much the whole season. You know, nobody probably thought that we would be here, but we don't have like, you know, your D1, your 6'3" kids, but like, I have a lot of kids that just play really, really good basketball, and they play really hard and they're tough. But like, I think that kind of underdog mentality has kind of given us a little bit of an edge too.
Avery, I'm expecting to see a lot of purple at noon at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, kind of wrapped around that kind of lower bowl. Can you talk about the community? I know Hank kind of mentioned it, but like, can you talk about the fan support, what you expect to see from your Eastern Pekin, you know, fan contingent?
At Sema State, we joked about the whole town of Pekin, but it wasn't really the whole town of Pekin. But we're like, so we expect the whole town of Pekin to be there, because everybody at school has been talking about it. People you never see at games are going to come. They're like, I'm going to state, and we're like, okay. So it's just like awesome to see all these people come and be a part of it, and like people you've never seen before. Like, I moved 2 years ago, and there's people I've never seen before anywhere, and they're coming to games. It's just awesome, and we just feel really supported by the community, and it's amazing.
Taylor, let's get into Oak Hill. What do you see on film? Talk about them. Tell us what you see.
They're big. Obviously, I'm sure that's everyone's initial reaction to them. And they're not just big; they're very skilled bigs. Yeah. There's a difference between, you know, just having a big body in the paint and having a big body that is very, very effective. You know, the Dailey girl is just so good. I mean, like, I feel like when I'm watching film, everything that she throws up goes in. I mean, she's very, very good. You know, and then they got the Kate's girl, another big body down there. You know, so that's obviously playing very big, and how we're playing into, you know, prepare for them offensively and defensively. You know, so I feel like our schedule has prepped us a little bit for that. You know, we play Brooklyn Wren, we play Madison. They got some big girls. Like, I feel like I hope the girls feel confident, you know, in themselves, because hopefully they feel like, you know, these high caliber players we've seen before. But it's, you know, it's a big stage, and executing is going to be the big thing.
I have one more question before Hank kind of takes it back and lands the plane. 10 years ago, Eastern Pekin played Oak Hill in the state championship and won. Has there been any connection from that team? Like, have any of those kids been back, or have you leaned into that? I mean, I as a coach would probably try to limit as many outside distractions, try to keep things normal, but also at the same time, I think it's okay to lean into the romanticism of the history of Eastern Pekin and Oak Hill. Has that come into play at all into your week of preparation?
Well, I was a senior on the team in 2017.
I thought that, and I didn't want to say it, so I apologize, Taylor.
No, it's okay.
Everybody asked you that at media day, so I just asked in a different way. But tell us the experience there.
Obviously it was. I kind of felt like, and maybe we weren't, but I didn't know back then if we were the Cinderella team, if we were, the underdogs. But I kind of felt like my team was just a bunch of, buddies going out there and playing ball. So it wasn't. I mean, I kind of feel a little similarities there, but I don't know. It's I don't. The girls know that I was there, but it's like I was there in such a different perspective that I hope that the way that I got to enjoy it and the way that the admin, the coaches, and everybody just kind of made sure that the players felt special. I'm just hoping that my coaching staff, myself, the admin, I'm hoping we can kind of make them feel the same way.
Avery, your dad was an assistant coach on a state championship boys team, right?
No.
Okay. Do you have any past experience, or do you have any past state championship game experience with schools you were at or communities you were in, or is this going to be a first-time experience for you guys?
I went to volleyball state my freshman and sophomore year.
There you go.
Okay, so just what are you able to draw from that experience then as an athlete coming into this week?
I think sophomore year, I had to step into a role at the state game, and all those seniors helped me get through the stress, the pressure, and I feel like I need to do that for our team, and I'm gonna try to step in that role because I sure needed help that game, and I'm just gonna try to take the nerves and the pressure and the stress off of them. And I mean, it's exciting, it's fun, but it's also really nerve-wracking, and I just want to help them get through that moment.
How do you help them get through it? Is it you talk them through it, you hold their hands through the whole thing? What do you try and do?
I'm trying to I'm going to talk them through it, but I'm also going to be you need to breathe, you need to focus, we need to get through this moment, and we're going to do it together because that's what we've done this whole postseason and this whole season, and we're stronger together, and that's what we're going to stick with.
Have you had a chance, you and your sister too, to kind of take a step back and just appreciate and soak in the moment, the fact that, you're however many days it is away from playing for a state championship, or is it just so go, go, go that you haven't really had time to process it, I guess?
I mean, I feel like we're just so excited. I don't know. We realized we never expected to be here. It's just amazing, and having my dad as the AD is just awesome, and it's just an amazing experience, and we're just so excited to do it and go. That be our last hurrah as the state game. It's just amazing.
Sure. Well, Taylor and Avery, thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. Best of luck here Saturday.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Good luck.
Take care. Taylor, Drury, Avery Smith here with us, talking to a basketball. Danny, Mickey Hosier's with us now. He's going to help us break down a little bit of Oak Hill, talk about Eastern between the two of us. Mickey, what's up?
What's up, guys? How we doing?
What's up, Mickey?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I'm a halftime at a boys game, so we're doing all right. Watching some more basketball.
Oh, man. So Danny and I have been talking about Oak Hill, but I'm curious to get your perspective. They got you guys there in that regional championship game. Just what, obviously the height, it jumps out immediately to people. What do you take away from them?
We actually got beat by them twice. So we played in the conference championship a couple weeks before the tournament started, and kind of got our butt kicked, and then played a better game in the regional championship. But yeah, I heard a little bit of your last interview. Definitely big, but I think they're way more than that. They're very, very dynamic team that has the two bigs, but just guards that I think are big game guards. When we watched all their film leading up into our game, it was just some games they were great, some games they weren't, but both of our games, their guards were just were really outstanding. Especially Hardman for whatever reason, she really likes playing against Alexandria, and I know she's a big time soccer player, but I've watched her for 3 years now on the basketball floor, and I think she really makes them go. So they're a really dynamic, good mix of big and small, and then obviously Kerri does a great job coaching them.
So it's from a schematic coaching perspective. We talk about how they're big. We talk about when they run high, low, things like that. But are there specific tendencies that you saw on film with Kates and Dailey specifically, before we get into Pond and Lily and all of them? But like just Kates and Dailey specifically. I mean, you're not new to basketball. You've played against teams with two posts all the time. Are there things on film that they do that you were able to uncover and try to take away, or you're like, hey, they have a tendency to do this? And talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think just personally from our program, it was really about our pressure, and we were trying to do everything possible to put as much pressure on their guards. So when they got it to Kates or Dailey, we were just trying to get them to catch it off their spots. We felt like if they caught it on their spot, it was a layup, and we weren't big enough or good enough to do anything about that. So obviously, they're trying to do the opposite, and I think they do a really good job. We play an aggressive 1-3-1. I'm not real sure what Eastern does, but I think when Kates catches it at the high post, her and Dailey have such a connection, and they've played together now for 2 years, and it's just like, those teams where they just know where each other's at. And so she kind of catches it without even looking and puts it in the right place. And so whatever Eastern's plan is, it's really about trying to get those girls, I think, to catch it somewhat off their spots and not let them be comfortable where they're getting it around the basket where it's going to be layups.
Mickey, there's a kid on their roster that's shooting over 30% from three on 164 attempts. Her name is Lily Edwards. In fact, against the Bremen game, she actually drew 2 possessions of box and one, and that was the one they were taking Lily Edwards away. In film study on Oak Hill, what does Lily Edwards and what kind of challenges does she present for an opposing coach and an opposing team?
Well, I have a great coaching story for that about how dumb coaches are. So in our first game, me being the coach, so we kind of overthought ourselves, and we run a 1-3-1, but we decided, because at that point she was really the only one on their team that had consistently made threes, and so we were going to play our 1-3-1, but also have a little bit of a 1-3 chaser, and so we were trying to give them something that they haven't seen on film from us. And so we were going to chase Edwards going into our game, and an hour before the game, the radio guy's doing an interview with me, and he slips up and gives me their starting lineup, and the girl that we're chasing is not starting. So yeah, so he leaves the room, and I'm like texting my coaches. I'm like, hey guys, come in here. So yeah, like that's how, but that shows you how good they are. Like there's a point in the year where she's made 50 threes, and they're bringing her off the bench. And so yeah, when I was kind of following their semi-state game, and I saw she made 3 threes, and I'm just like, good luck playing against them. But yeah, it just kind of shows how dynamic their team is. They have Pond and Hardiman, who are just really solid guards, and then you have somebody like Edwards when you're trying to stop the inside out game, who can come in and just knock down open shots. So they're definitely a tough cover.
Is it too disrespectful to Pond to call her the X factor in this game? And she was the kid who hit the 3 against Bremen that gave them a 14-point lead in the semi-state championship game, which was their largest lead to that point in time. Kates and Dailey get a lot of the headline attention, but Pond always seems to be the one kind of making the big play. So I'm thinking in my head, here's the X factor. But then I'm like, no, I don't. This kid does more than that. I don't know. What's your read as an opposing coach who coached against him twice? Is it too disrespectful to call her the X factor, or is she a central piece to this thing?
No, I completely agree. Actually, she had made 12 threes going into our first game and made 5 in the CIC championship. And so that's where I say I like you kind of look at their stats and they don't always jump off the page, but they're really a bunch of kids. Honestly, Pond's probably the only one where basketball is kind of her main thing. They're a group that excel highly in other sports, and are just playing basketball as their off sport, which is kind of scary. But like, she's really the one that's kind of like a basketball player. And so I would agree with that statement that she's somebody that, she's going to make some type of difference, and maybe it's not always scoring, but she kind of just is just like that player that's always there that the coach can count on is going to be there for them. So yeah, I would agree with you on that one.
Mickey, my first questions have all been about, playing against Oak Hill, but I'm going to ask you to put yourself in Oak Hill's shoes now, playing against a team like Eastern, where you heard the interview beforehand. They've really kind of adopted individual, unique defensive game plans for each particular game. So when you're playing against a team that has shown different defensive game plans in 5 consecutive games leading up to your game, how do you go about it as maybe the Oak Hill coach preparing for this to say, we don't know what we're going to see. Here's 5. Are you working on all of them, or are you working on none of them and waiting to see what the first quarter presents? If you're Oak Hill preparing for Eastern now and not knowing what they're going to play defensively, what's your mindset there as the coach?
I come from a background where I love that, coming kind of that Bill Belichick, or my high school coach was named Garth Cohn, and he kind of had that mentality. But as the opposing coach, it's tough. The good thing is at this point in the year, you kind of are what you are. And, Oak Hill is really good at what they do. And Kerri does a great job of just playing like physical man-to-man defense. And so I'm not sure. I mean, it's almost one of those things where you have a week to prepare, and you got to decide as a coach, how much do I want to put in my kid's head when we're preparing, or just try to go in there and instill confidence that we're going to play the way that we play. The other thing that we didn't even talk about with Oak Hill is like some of their times their best offense is just getting a shot on the glass. And having Dailey and Cates and some of their other players just get to the glass, and that was probably one of our biggest focuses, was like, when a shot goes up, we got to find somebody, because you can't teach 6'2", and so I don't know if that answered your question, but I kind of like, if I was Eastern, I haven't seen Eastern play, but just listen to the last 10 minutes of their interview. I already like their style and their coach, and so I'm excited to watch and see how it goes this week.
Mick, one last one before we get you out of here. This one's off topic, but participation-wise, there was that story recently about downward trend in participation in girls basketball. Have you noticed that at Alexandria? And then a follow-up to that, just do you have any thoughts behind the trend of that statewide?
Yeah, I did read the article, and we've been on a little bit of an uptick. I've had a couple daughters that have come through, and so it hasn't really been a problem. This year was probably the least amount of girls that I had, and I had 16. And you guys watch girls basketball all the time, but 16 was even tough. Just when we had games that were full JV games, of just like kind of strategically working it out the day of the game, going, hey, okay, this girl's going to play 2. And I had a couple seniors that didn't play a lot, that were just like awesome kids that were like, I'll play a quarter if you need me to. And so for me, this was the first year that I kind of dealt with it. As far as the reasoning of why I think it's happening, to be honest with you, like I'm a basketball goo history. I just love the game. And I really think that basketball is just a hard sport to play. I think that as a boy or girl, it's probably the sport where you put yourself out there the most, and you have to have the most skill and do a lot of things to be a good basketball player. And you guys are seeing all the levels, but at the 2A level, I had a senior girl this year who really didn't play, but she played, JV as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and then she had a role for us this year. But I told her, I said, you are so unique. Her name's Alexa Sarvis. I said, you're so unique, Alexa, because in girls basketball at our level, you as a senior don't make it this far. Because if you don't play varsity as a freshman or a sophomore, you just quit.
Yeah, at any
and
level,
so
really.
yeah, it was just awesome because she saw it through and was able to experience a couple sectional championships. And so I told her, like, you're kind of one of one that I've seen as a girls coach that have just kind of pushed through the having to play JV as a junior. And so she's kind of a special kid for me as a coach, as somebody that's coached for a long time, that just kind of could see it through. So I do think it's an issue, but I'm not sure what the answer is because the basketball is not going to get any easier. But I think that makes it more special. That's why it's probably my favorite, just because it's special and you got to be special to play it.
Sure. Well, Mickey, thank you so much for hopping on with us, sir. We'll let you get back to the boys' basketball game, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Hey, thank you so much for what you're doing. I love watching your show and the way that you guys promote girls basketball. It's awesome, and keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
Yep. Later, guys.
See you, Mickey.
Mickey Hosier with us here on the scores table. Danny, we haven't had a chance to wrap up Oak Hill, or I'm sorry, not Oak Hill, Eastern Pekin yet. Defensive identity with that team. I mean, they guard the heck out of you.
I think, and it starts with Addie Smith, right? I mean, she was the guest that we had a couple of weeks ago. She's been really impressive through this run, and I didn't. This is the wrong way to say it. Challenged her, like I wasn't talking to her, but she always needs to remember too. She's the central piece to their defensive game plans all the time, but she's also their leading scorer, and it puts a lot on kids that have to do both. But if you are turning this game on at noon, or you come early because you spend the day downtown to watch 3A, 4A, and you pop into that game or whatever, Addie Smith for Eastern Pekin is the kid that I would ask you to watch. That's Avery's twin sister, and we had her on the show tonight. She is really, really a good guard, a really good kind of lead guard that you can watch, and does a ton of things, particularly on the defensive side. But she's the one that I think she hit a monster three in the semi-state championship game, which was the one that put him over the top. And there's just no question that it was going to come from your stud, and she's it.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier, but too, just that team's ability to navigate the injuries that they've been through this season, I think explains some of the losses that they had earlier in the year and some of those struggles that they had going in. But then you look at this, and I mean, they referenced it, but they played Silver Creek and Borden to close out the regular season.
That's right.
I can't think of any better way to prepare or to have the film to look back on going into a game against an Oak Hill. Because, I mean, you have Brooklyn Red. It doesn't get much better than that. You have Borden, that like that we talked about at the beginning of the show. So that sets up well. That is a fascinating 2A game. Like, I knew I'd be interested in going in, but, I mean, the storylines and the contrast between that game and the Class A game both and the teams involved it's going to be tremendous theater.
And let's look at the coaches too, right? Taylor Drury for Eastern Pekin and Kerri Barcomb at Oak Hill are both in their fourth year. In their previous 3 years, they had not been out of the sectional. So it was their first regional as a coach. It was their first semi-state as a coach, and it's going to be one of their first states as a coach. And so I think let's look at the coaches. I mean, this isn't, all due respect to Taylor and Kerri, but this isn't, Katie Collignon, who seems to be there every year. This isn't Matt Vick, who was there last year. This wasn't Eric Thornton, who's been on a 3-year run and things like that. Like, these are first-time coaches in their fourth year who had never been out of the sectional, who are getting ready to coach. One of them is going to be crowned a state champ on Saturday afternoon, and I think that's really, really cool in our coaching fraternity and sorority of people to see such success at just really, really just young. I don't want to say inexperienced, but young coaches.
Yeah, and that is something cool, and I'm glad you brought that up. But 3 of the 4 coaches there in the first 2 games, they're young female coaches all in their 4th season.
That's right, Shay too. Good call.
Yeah. So that's a cool little storyline there. Anything else you want to touch on for these first 2 games, Danny, before I shift us and look ahead to next week or to tomorrow's show?
No, go to the games and at the very least watch them, but go.
Yeah. Next show is going to be the 3A, 4A preview show. We're going to open things up with Sydney Parrish, the state champion from Hamilton Southeastern. She's on the call for the 3A, 4 games for the IHSAA. Belmont, we're going to be joined by the Blakey sisters, Ashley and Mary. Shayna Williams will join us from Connersville to break down Belmont. Reagan Turkman-Asserti from Roncalli. Lisa Finn is going to help us talk about Roncalli.
Okay.
From Center Grove, Mackenzie Pierce and Lillian Tapak. Vince Sorbonne from Franklin Central is going to help us talk a little bit of Center Grove. And then from Norwell, Vanessa Rostrom and Macy Selfrank. Then we close out this week of previews with Kurt Medge on both Norwell and Center Grove. Plainfield played a hell of a schedule. It only seems right that they face 2 of the 2 state finalists in Class 4A as well on top of all of that. So we'll have all that for you guys. I'm still thinking of doing a preview show or a prediction show, with some players. Have some fun with that. Recent state champions. But yeah, Danny and I will be back with you all tomorrow. Be sure to check out IndyStar.com for the stories. We'll have Local previews tomorrow on Center Grove and Roncalli. Feature story coming to you on Thursday. 50 players to know on there today. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll talk to you again here in about 23 hours.
Great job, man.